Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, my name is Amanda. I'm 31 years old and I'm currently 36 weeks pregnant today with our first son. His due date is May 7th. So last week I gave you, or I think it was a couple weeks ago at this point, my last update was at 33 weeks pregnant. I'm gonna put a link to the video up above and down below so that if you're new, you can kind of get the backstory of what's been going on. Long story short is that I have gestational diabetes, so I was scheduled for an ultrasound at 33 weeks just to make sure that the baby was growing properly and to check on, a bunch of other things, more of like an in-depth ultrasound to make sure that he was okay. So I ended up going to the hospital for that one, and they found out that my fluid levels were really low, and they made me stay overnight and get an IV, and they checked my levels again in the morning, which had gone up a bit. And because he is also small, I had to get steroids. So check out that video if you want more information on that. It was a pretty rough week for my husband and I. We were just really upset about the whole situation, and my OB has been on maternity leave, so I haven't seen her since November. So we were kind of tossed between a bunch of different on-call doctors and dealing with the nurse practitioner. So check out that video if you're interested in what's going on. This week, I'm gonna give you what's been going on from 34 weeks to 35 weeks. So sent home from the hospital, everything seemed okay. And then from that point on, I was supposed to go back every single Friday for this round of scans and ultrasounds, an NST and a BPP, and also to do the cord Doppler to make sure that the umbilical cord was doing its job and that there was nothing going on with that. So at 34 weeks, this was March 29th. It was a Friday. I went back in for those scans that I just talked about and for them to measure my amniotic fluid levels. And thankfully, I had been drinking so much water throughout that week, and my fluid levels rose from, I think, the last time it was like a 6.2 or something. They went up to a 7.2. So that's still on the low side from what they told me. They like to see an 8 or above, but it was much better than the original 33-week ultrasound that I got when they were in. It was like a 5.1 or something. So they also told me that he was still measuring 2 weeks smaller than he should be. So they didn't tell me exactly how much he weighed at that point. The one before that, he was 3 pounds, 11 ounces at 33 weeks. So that was really like a weight for a 31-week-old baby. Aside from that, he passed all the other tests. So he had good muscle movement. He was moving around in there. He was happy. He had a strong heartbeat, and he was practicing chewing and swallowing, and they didn't see any cause for concern at that point. The one thing that we actually had an appointment with an on-call doctor after that round of ultrasounds just to get the information read to us properly. And she said that when they were doing the umbilical cord ultrasound, they found that an elevation that they saw after looking at that. So I guess that means they're checking whether like the blood is flowing properly, and the doctor said that if they see 3 elevations, that's really worrisome, but they only saw 1, and she said that it could be just a human error because you have to be very, very specific when ultrasound tech is doing the ultrasound. So basically, she said there was nothing to be worried about and that I could leave and just come back the next Friday for the next ultrasound. So I left that appointment feeling really, really good, especially coming from, a very traumatic experience in the hospital and worrying if my baby was okay and if there was anything that I can do to like help the situation on my end. That was really great. So after that appointment, I felt good. I knew that I had to continue to drink a ton of water just to keep my fluid levels up. And I also was kind of wondering more about like the gestational diabetes and if I should be eating more carbs because you know, typically when you have GD, your fluid levels are higher than normal. So it was a little strange to see that my fluids were lower. So I just started adding more, I started adding more carbs, like whole grains, into my diet. And I also started eating a lot more that week just because the baby was small and I wasn't sure if it was because I just wasn't eating enough. So that's what I started to do. Other than that, week 34, I just felt very exhausted. It's just like a very mentally and emotionally exhausting week the week before during 33 weeks. So 34 weeks, I was just kind of like taking it easy and resting and trying to just be not stressed out and as calm as possible. So that brings me to week 35, which was last week. And so I went back again on the 5th, April 5th, to do all the same screenings, the NST, the BPP, and the cord Doppler. So once all of the tests were done, I spoke to the nurse and she did release me, but she gave me some really, again, jarring information. She said that my fluid levels were still very low. So they were at a 6.1 on Friday. And all she told me, because the process at my hospital is that the radiologist will review all of the ultrasound results and then they'll send them to my doctor's office, and then my doctor and I will go through the results together. So basically all they can tell me at the hospital is you can leave and everything is okay, or, you know, they're gonna keep me like the first time when I stayed overnight at the hospital. Anyway, she told me that my levels were 6.1 and that they were still very low. And then she told me to come back in on Monday, which is April 8th, yesterday, for another round of ultrasounds. And then she said, and we'll decide whether you need to be induced. So when I heard that like induced word, I just started freaking out. Again, my OB is still on maternity leave and the nurse can't provide any more information than that. So what I did that day was I called my doctor's office. I asked them if they had received the results from the hospital and the ultrasounds. They hadn't. I needed them to get back to me that day. They didn't. So I just kind of, again, spent the weekend in the dark, not knowing what was going on. Luckily, I had a scheduled appointment with my OB, who is finally back from maternity leave, yesterday, April 8th, which was Monday. So I was so thankful to finally be able to talk to my doctor and figure out what the heck was going on with me, and if these on-call doctors and the staff at the hospital were scaring me or whatever, like more than was necessary. So during that appointment on Monday, we got so much information from finally talking to my OB. She did an ultrasound in the doctor's office, so I didn't actually end up going to the hospital, which was nice because that's just a stressful situation in itself, for me at least. I'd rather just be at my doctor's office and have her do it. So she did the ultrasound, and the first thing she said is, "He looks so great." And she said he's breathing really well, like his heart rate is really perfect and he's very active. She felt him moving around, she felt him kicking, and I don't know, like I literally almost started to cry because when she said that he looks great in there and like just happy and everything was perfect. Because for, you know, the past 2 weeks, we hadn't seen my doctor, and we had been seeing other doctors that didn't know my situation, didn't know what was going on, and like nobody really gave us good feedback, like happy feedback. So I was just like so relieved at that. And she also said that my fluid levels had risen to over a 9. So this past weekend, I was just super mindful about drinking tons and tons of water. And they did the ultrasound on Monday at around 11 a.m. and I'd been going at 8 a.m. to the hospital for the previous ultrasound. So I asked her if there was maybe a chance that because my ultrasounds were really early in the morning at 8 a.m. and I hadn't been drinking throughout the night, if I, was more dehydrated and that's why my fluid levels were low. And she said, yeah, absolutely. Like, your fluids can fluctuate so much. So, she was like, I really wish that they didn't scare you as much as they did, because, it could have just been the time of day that I got them that the fluid levels were low. But as, I get up and I'm drinking water throughout the day, they get higher. So I felt really, really happy about that. It just eased my mind. She did say that he's still measuring 2 weeks behind where he should be. He was 4 pounds, 12 ounces yesterday, but she said he really seems happy in there. He is breech. I mentioned that in my 33-week update, and she said he seems pretty comfortable in that position, and the likelihood of him flipping is low. I mean, there is a possibility he could, but I'm a small person. Because of the fluid levels that are low, she doesn't really see him flipping. It's very likely that I will have a C-section. Okay, so when I first went in for my appointment, the normal protocol when I go in is they take my blood pressure, they weigh me, and then they do a urine sample. So they took my blood pressure 2 separate times when I first got in there, and it was high. I can't remember exactly how high it was, but they took it twice, and then they also took it one more time before I left the doctor's office, and it was still high. It wasn't high enough for her to say that, the baby is in danger, but she was like, just keep an eye on it. Go ahead and buy one of the cuffs if you want, and just monitor your blood pressure throughout the day. I mean, I was very nervous going into this appointment just because we hadn't seen my doctor in so long and a lot had gone on. So I don't know if it was elevated because of that. But they also did the urine sample, and they didn't find any protein in my urine, and protein in your urine is a sign of preeclampsia. So I didn't have any of that, so they're not worried. But the last thing that she said to me before I left was I had to get blood work. So I went and did that yesterday, and they did the strep swab. So that's going for testing too. But I think she had them test one more thing in my blood that wasn't originally on the list. And she basically said, like, on Friday at your next ultrasound, bring your hospital bag. It's her opinion that I could have a C-section on Friday. I honestly, maybe that would shock a lot of you or make you worry, but I kind of just feel very relieved. Another interesting thing about my doctor is that she was on maternity leave, and she actually delivered early at 35 weeks, and she had to have an emergency C-section. And she had it at the hospital that I'm going to be delivering at, and she said it was a breeze. Like, she said the whole C-section, the doctors are really great at my hospital. She would never go anywhere else. She said the recovery was easy for her, and she said it was just a really good experience overall. So knowing that too just put my mind at ease. Obviously, I was thinking I might have to have a C-section, but wasn't 100% sure. So hearing it from my actual doctor that she went through the same thing, she delivered earlier than me. Her baby was fine. She said that the two of them were in the hospital for 3 days, and then they let them go. And she and her daughter are both happy and healthy, and everything turned out okay. So yesterday, I feel like my whole entire mood just shifted for the first time in 2 or 3 weeks. I actually felt excited and happy, and a weight was lifted off my shoulders just because we kind of have a plan now. I mean, she also said that we have the option of having the C-section whenever we want, as early as, tomorrow if I wanted to. 36 weeks, the baby is not, classified as full term, but all of the organs are working properly. He had those steroids, so his lungs are more developed than they would have been. And she said, honestly, like, if it would give you peace of mind to just have a C-section earlier and schedule it, just, because the stress that you experience yourself does affect the baby. And if you're going to bed every night and throughout the day just like sick to your stomach wondering if everything's okay, which I had been doing for the past 3 weeks, she's like, it might be better if you just had it, but it's totally your own decision. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have my appointment this Friday. I'm going to see what their recommendation is, if my fluid levels are low or if my blood pressure is elevated high enough that they think that he needs to come out and that it's in his best interest to be born and be, in the NICU, and that's a safer place for him than to be inside, then that's exactly what we'll do. She said that they do C-sections at 38 weeks, so that's the longest that I would go. So we're kind of just playing it by ear, but absolutely 100% packing my hospital bag. And we did so much prep this past weekend in case he was to come early. So I feel really good about having pretty much everything set at home ready for him. Got his bassinet all built in our room, washed all of his clothes. Car seat is in the car. We gotta just get the stroller out, and I gotta pack my hospital bag, but everything else is done. So I'm going into Friday's appointment as if I may potentially have a C-section, and that'll be his birthday. If the doctor and the radiologist and everything say that he's looking great and it would benefit him to go another week or two, then I'll stay home and we'll schedule a C-section for either sometime next week. And I think 38 weeks for me will be April 23rd. I'll be exactly 38 weeks. So because next weekend is Easter, my mind tells me don't wait until 38 weeks, just because if something happens and there's not enough staff or my doctor isn't available because of Easter for whatever reason, my gut is just telling me that if I don't end up actually having him on Friday, then I should schedule the C-section for the week of the 15th. April 16th, I'll be 37 weeks. So it's kind of up in the air, but it seems like the finish line is in sight, and I'm just feeling so happy and just excited. It's so emotional. Like, now I feel like we actually have a plan, and like, he's not in danger anymore. Like, not that he was ever in danger, but like in my mind, there was just so much information that me and my husband didn't get because my doctor wasn't there, that like I felt like we were kind of living in this, unknown for 3 weeks. And just to hear that he looks great in there and that he's doing well, like, I feel so good. So anyway, like, this could be my final pregnancy update, and might have a baby on Friday. I also just wanted to share a few other symptoms that I've been experiencing throughout weeks 34 and 35. So I have been extremely exhausted, and just like mentally and physically exhausted. There are days that I just want to lay on the couch and do absolutely nothing. Like, don't want to think about anything. Just want to like watch TV, and that's it. I'm also, sometimes when I exert myself too much, I think that I might be having contractions. And I don't know if I'm assuming they're the Braxton Hicks contractions, but it kind of feels like period cramping and just like a tightness around like my lower like pelvic region. So like, for example, I was just doing a bunch of laundry, and up and around and like cleaning and vacuuming and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I started like getting these like cramps and this tightness in my lower abdomen. So what I usually just do was I stopped doing what I was doing and I just like drank a bunch of water and sat on the couch or like a chair or something, and then it would just pass. In terms of weight gain, so far I'm 146 pounds, so almost 30 pounds gained, and I think I've increased my caloric intake every day, and I'm just eating a lot more because he's small, so I want to make sure that I'm giving him enough food and everything like that. So my weight has definitely jumped up probably like 5 or 6 pounds over the last week or two, but still it's still within the healthy range of like 25 to 35 pounds, so that's good. Another interesting thing is that my husband recently just told me that I'm snoring at night. So I never was a snorer at all. I'm very like sound sleeper. And so I was kind of like embarrassed by that. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I sound like? Is it loud and whatever? So it's just because of the extra weight and everything like that. And other than that, I'm not really sleeping at all. I get up to go to the bathroom probably 5 to 7 times a night, and now I'm trying to drink more at night so that I'm not dehydrated in the morning because I'm worried about my fluid levels. So I never get a good night's sleep. I'm always exhausted in the morning, and just like rolling from side to side is it's annoying, you know, the weight of the belly and getting up from the couch, getting up from chairs and things is just a lot harder than it used to be. I'm not having any real cravings. Aside from ice cream, which is weird. I am not a big ice cream person whatsoever, but I had been craving the like Neapolitan, just the strawberry, the vanilla, and the chocolate. Breyers, like whatever. Just been really, really into that and eating ice cream almost every night. And it doesn't actually affect my blood sugar levels or the diabetes or anything. So speaking of the gestational diabetes, I've kind of noticed that my blood sugar levels are not as high as they used to be about a month ago. I asked my doctor about that. She said it's totally fine. It could just be that towards the end of the pregnancy, the placenta is breaking down a bit. That's why you're seeing a little bit less of the blood sugar spikes than they used to be. But she didn't say to do anything different. And I think that's really it. Third trimester ladies who've had kids or who are in their third trimester now, for me, it's been the toughest one yet. I mean, the emotional and just like mental exhaustion and I've just been through so much. I feel like that I'm constantly was concerned about the baby and his health and everything. So it's been more of an emotionally tough trimester than previous ones, but finish line is in sight, and I'm just ready to have this little boy and to become a family of 3. So before I go, I just want to give you another bump shot so that you can see how big the belly is, and this might be the last one, who knows. Here we are with clothes on from the side. Front, I'm sorry, I'm wearing black. You probably can't really tell what the front looks like. And then the other side, and here he is, Big Bubba. The front. And the other side. I still haven't gotten any stretch marks. There's a couple like on the side that I have, like on my sides, but on my actual belly, I don't have any, and like my belly button hasn't popped out or anything. So just a quick tidbit there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'm gonna continue to make videos once he's born, and would love you guys to be part of this family and part of my journey, and just connect with other mothers out there and mothers to be. And I thank you so much for all of my current subscribers for commenting on my videos and interacting with me and sharing your experiences and support and everything. It really means the world to me. It can be a lonely time if you're pregnant, and especially we're far away from our family in New Jersey and back on the East Coast. Just having you guys there and feeling like, you know, there's other people out there that are experiencing the same things just makes me feel a lot better and like puts my mind at ease and everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will update you on what's going on Friday. I'm gonna bring my camera to the appointment, and I'm gonna bring my hospital bag so I possibly could have the baby, and I'm gonna vlog as much as I can of the birth if they allow me, and if not, if I end up going home on Friday, I'll make another update for next week to let you know how that appointment goes and what we're gonna be doing from there. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining me on this journey. I'll talk to you guys next time. Love you. Bye.